deal with airplane peanuts?
ABC announced that Jimmy Kimmel Live will be removed indefinitely from the air due to the comedian's comments on the killing of Charlie Kirk, with the official statement from Nexstar Media Group reading, quote, "Mr. Kimmel's comments about the death of Mr. Kirk are offensive and insensitive at a critical time in our nation's political discourse, and we do not believe they reflect the spectrum of opinions, views, or values of the local communities in which we are located. Continuing to give Mr. Kimmel a broadcast platform in the communities we serve is simply not in the public interest at the current time, and we have made the difficult decision to preempt his show in an effort to let cooler heads prevail as we move towards the resumption of respectful, constructive dialogue."
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half-staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House.
ABC's decision to preempt Jimmy Kimmel Live instantly created mayhem online, with crazy backlash pouring in from all angles and everyone from comedians to politicians weighing in on the news. With the two main takeaways being, yes, the show did stink out loud, but its overnight removal is still one of the most prime examples of government overreach and censorship in comedy. Before we go any farther, I'd just like to point out that obviously it's been a very intense week online, with all of us basically being forced to watch that horrific video and then being subjected to everyone's hot takes like an episode of Black Mirror. So I just hope everyone watching this video is doing alright, and if you'd prefer to listen to jokes right now instead of just more yapping, check out one of our best of videos instead. Okay, as I was saying, the cancellation of Jimmy Kimmel sent major shockwaves throughout the world of comedy overnight, with seemingly every comic expressing their disgust for the situation online regardless of their late night affiliation. Of course, to the rest of the internet, this issue has already become hyper politicized and very tribal, with people on the right pointing out that everyone who's kicking and screaming about Kimmel being deplatformed showed absolutely no sympathy when comics like Roseanne and Shane Gillis got fired, and if anything, they celebrated. Which is true and would have been a good point if Kimmel had gotten fired because of an angry mob mentality, but the Kimmel cancellation was apparently decided by the FCC, which is a US government agency that regulates interstate and international communications by radio, television, wire, and satellite, meaning it was the government, not the people, who made this call.
Frankly, when you see stuff like this, I mean, look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. These companies can find ways to change conduct and take action on Kimmel, or, there's going to be additional work for the FCC ahead.
The issue that arose here, where lots and lots of people were upset, was not a joke. It was not, making fun or pillaring me or the administration or the president. It was appearing to directly mislead the American public about a significant fact of probably one of the most significant political events we've had in a long time. It's really the most significant political assassination we've seen in a long time. And so I think that's categorically different.
If you've wanted to see Jimmy Kimmel get fired for a while now because you view him as more of a hypocrite than a comedian, and as someone who's obsessed with politics while making millions off dividing the country and basically acting as a soft extension of the cable news, that would all be fair. Nobody is saying that his show will be missed or that those comments were in good taste, based in reality, or funny at all. However, there's just no denying that Jimmy Kimmel Live getting canned for the specific reasons laid out by Nexstar Media is a terrible omen for the future of comedy. Sure, the show costs millions of dollars to operate and nobody under 95 years old is tuning in, but none of those reasons were cited as to why the show was brought to a halt. And as we all know, it's a very slippery slope to start deplatforming comedians for their words, just like it's a slippery slope for comics to start taking themselves seriously enough to lecture the public every night until it's unclear if they're even trying to be funny or just sowing division to boost ratings.
Why do they think that just because you have a Tonight Show that you must deal in serious issues? That's a danger. It's a real danger. Once you start that, you start to get that self-important feeling that what you say has great import. And Strangely enough, you could use that show as a forum. You could sway people, and I don't think you should as an entertainer.
The initial gut feeling might be that this is easy to ignore because it's just Jimmy Kimmel, and you could have told me that show was off the air 3 years ago. But make no mistake, this is a big deal for all of comedy, and if it's happening on TV now, there's no reason to assume it can't one day spread to the internet too. The first time cancel culture really came at comedians, the internet was the sole solution that saved and revived a lot of careers. And the butterfly effect of comics being censored in the world of corporate entertainment led to the biggest independent comedy boom of all time, literally changing the game forever. Jimmy Kimmel was not anybody's favorite comic, but the principle of censorship is really what matters here. And the ironic part is, based on everything I've learned about Charlie Kirk over the last few days, there's no way he would have supported the decision to pull someone off the air altogether. Some people have floated out the idea that ABC was just looking for any reason to cut the show, and this was their best opportunity, which from a business point of view does make sense for the network. Instead of constantly dealing with a controversial late night talk show that requires a huge staff and guests to be booked and teams of writers working around the clock, they can now just fill that empty time slot with reruns of Modern Family or whatever else they choose to make money while not having to deal with any overhead or outrage.
If you were in a big fight and you're just like dominating the opponent, you know, you're going into the 12th round and you're up 11 rounds to nothing and you're like, I'm just gonna keep killing this guy. Do you want the referee to cheat for you at that point? No, it just robs your victory from you. It just gives them a talking point. Jimmy Kimmel was getting destroyed. His ratings have been tanking. The guy is a laughing stock. Nobody cares anymore. And he's just getting dunked on left and right because his point there was like the most dumbass bonehead point. Like it didn't even make any sense. His argument was, oh, MAGA's trying to make it look like it wasn't one of their own. Like, no, they're not. It clearly wasn't. There's no evidence pointing to that. It's as silly as any of the other conspiracies. But like, think about how you totally just like take that victory away from yourself now because the dumbass FCC chairman had to go threatening them, and now they can make it out to be a free speech issue.
With Stephen Colbert also getting sacked recently, the late night medium seems to be on its last legs as a whole, which is actually something we recently spoke to Chris Stefano about after he filled in for Jimmy Kimmel as host for 2 episodes this summer. How was that experience overall, and what was it like getting your first taste of hosting late night TV the same week that they canceled Colbert?
Well, that's what it is. I'm Chrissy Timing. I'm the king of timing. I proved that I could be the next late night show host. I proved I can do it right just in time for them to be canceling every single late night show that's ever been created. They are all going away within the next year. So it's perfect timing for me. But you know what I'll say? It's different than podcasting, because podcasting, you kind of have to be in charge of it all, think of the topics, the ideas, kind of free flow thought. The Jimmy Kimmel show, the Jimmy Kimmel Live show, their staff is so incredible. They have, I believe, a staff of like 200 people. And so you just got to control your little part. And you have so many people that do their job so well, because Jimmy, you know, it all starts at the top, and Jimmy runs like such a good, like professional tight ship that like everything down from Jimmy is just amazing. Like I really can't say enough. Like a lot of times people will just like glaze, you know, the guy that gave them an opportunity just to glaze them, to like brown nose. And that's not this. This is like, I'm genuinely impressed with how great the staff is and how everyone just knows how to do their job at such a high level that it's one of those things where like truly I felt good about my performance, but it's really because they made it so easy for me. Like all I had to do was control the things that they told me to do. And I did that. And it was like, oh, you know, not that it's easy, but I was like, they made it feel so easy for me because it's just such a well-run, oiled machine.
You made it look easy. It was a great appearance. But that leads me into my next question. With these shows getting canceled or the future being unknown, why does it require such a crazy budget? Like I was almost thinking, could you shrink this into 10 people and do it on YouTube? They all have channels of 10 million subs and all this stuff. Why is late night required this huge scale?
You know, I think that they probably could and maybe have already been thinking about that, or that might be on the way. We'll say, though, I only did it for 2 nights, right? So I did it for 2 nights and it was great. I could feel how difficult that must be to do night after night after night. So I think that everyday grind of that show is what requires that big staff. Because I think if just for 2 nights, it could have been a crew of 10 people. It easily could have been, because it was only 2 nights. But to do that night after night for years and years and years, you just need a lot of people running that ship. And so I think that's why. But I think that there's always going to be a need for like daily topical humor, whether it be at night or whenever. And maybe that's on YouTube or maybe it's on TV in a smaller way. But there'll always be like, people always want that. So I think that it's probably going to get scaled down, maybe go away for right now, but then come back in some kind of way and get scaled down because, you know, you see what happens, right? Like even the biggest movies, like everything is nostalgia. Happy Gilmore 2. Everybody wants it the way it used to be. So like YouTube and social media is all great and we're all leaning into it. We all have to do it. And honestly, the best late night show would probably be the one that I could do on the Mr. Beast YouTube channel. Like that's really what I'm trying to suck off. I want to glaze Mr. Beast and just get on his channel.
That would be
that
sick.
is where the eyeballs are now. So I would be willing to do that. Just be Chrissy Beast. People want, there is, like you just see it in most entertainment, they're craving like this nostalgia. Like, so I think maybe it goes away for a little bit, but then eventually people are like, oh, I kind of miss that format. And I don't think it ever comes back in the scale. Like, I don't think you'll see the $20 million a year hosts anymore. I just don't think the eyeballs are there. But I have to imagine it either morphs into something, you know, smaller or just becomes something entirely different, but like the same idea.
Please leave a comment on this video letting me know the last time you've tuned in to a live late night show. And like we mentioned briefly before, I hope everyone watching this video is doing all right and not getting too triggered by things that they see online. I know you obviously have to be on a device to be watching this video right now, but it seems like we could all benefit from a little less screen time, or do whatever the fuck you want. This is the comedy news. It's not a personal lecture, and I like when you guys watch my videos, so never mind. Guest spots from last week. Joe Rogan sat down with Charlie Sheen, Matthew McConaughey, and Jordan Jensen. Jordan also stopped by Your Mom's House and Whiskey Ginger. Guy Fieri went on Bad Friends and was also on Birdcast. Erica Rhodes took a trip on the Heartland Highway. Gary Vee was on Are You Garbage? Feidelberg stopped by Stavi's World and also went on First Date. Dan Soder was on You Be Trippin'. Jay Moore appeared on Steph Infection. Kill Tony featured Triple H and Carrot Top. Two Bears One Cave was Bert and Tom, Tom and Bert. Rob Thomas sat on the couch with Soder. The Are You Garbage fellas joined Steve Ranazizi on the Legion of Skanks. Chelsea Lynn and Paige Ginn stopped by Tiger Belly. Christina Mariani took her shoes off with Rick Glassman. Story Wars was a battle between Ryan Long, Monroe Martin, and Scott Chaplin. Co-host Wanted officially ended season 1, and Kevin Hart was on Flagrant.
You said you had a clip that you weren't sure if you should put out. Can we talk about? You don't have to say what the clip was.
Sure. It's coming out. I'm going to put it out tomorrow, but I did a show in Canada, so I was like, let's talk about how up America is, and it went well. But now I don't want to shit on the death, but I still want to make it funny. So it's a real tightrope, but I think I nailed it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm excited to see this. Yeah, it is a thing where it's like, look, it's horrible this guy died.
Yes.
You shouldn't die because of what you say. We say whatever we want to say, but our job is also to make it funny.
Exactly.
So what do you do?
Yeah.
And that was just something someone called out, or were you cooking that up?
I was cooking it up. Any big event, I try to have a somewhat of a take on.
Yeah, you turn over material incredibly quickly. I'm always very impressed.
Hey, thanks.
You're filming another special.
Yeah, next week. Yeah, in Colorado.
Ooh, nice.
So I'll try to sell that to 4chan or whoever will buy
it. Chrissy D went on This Past Weekend with Theo Von. Grace Charis hit the links on No Bad Lies. MJ was on The Tim Bartley Show. Steph Tolev sat in The Way Back. Sagday Pod featured Maddie Smith. Josh Francis and Jim Gillespie went on Durag and the Deer Tag. Josh also visited Stuff Island with Tyler Rothrock. And Jim stopped by Ridley Radio Ridley. Jamie Jasta and Lizzie Cassidy went on B&E Ian without Jordan. Trip Callahan was on Big Naturals. Harland Williams went on We Might Be Drunk. The Goblin went on Jet Fuel. The Cockfight Boys stopped by You Know What Dude. JT Kelly went on Friendly Fire. Ian Fidance went on Jim Norton Can't Save You. Miles Johnson was a guest on The Solid Show. Eric Griffin and Rachel Lindsay did stuff with Howie Mandel. Howie then went on Right Now. Edmund McMillan joined the Duncan Trussell Family Hour. Dean Stanfield was on Dad Meat. And the Special Little Boys, Tuesdays with Stories, Beautiful Boys, Burbs Bros, Son of a Boy Dad, Tim Dillon Show, Chubby Behemoth, Rough Week, Cockfight, The Regs, and History Hyenas all did not have guests. Also, we interviewed David Jolly about Cam Patterson getting SNL right here on Joke World.
I think it's going to be great. You know what I mean? I can't wait to watch it, to be honest.
How did he even end up on SNL's radar?
I mean, yeah, I don't know. He just called me one day. He was like, he FaceTimed me like in the middle of the day, and he was like, I'm about to try for SNL. I'm like, what? like that's the type of conversations I usually have with that guy. Like, what? Like,
yeah.
All right. So it's like normal now. You know, like if he hit me up and was like, they want me to play the Black Pope as a little boy, I'd be like, all right, well, it. Let's do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It don't surprise me no more.
As far as new stand-up comedy specials that are either out right now or coming out soon, the two big new ones are Jordan Jensen, Take Me With You on Netflix, and Andrew Santino, White Noise out on Hulu. But we also have Larry the Cable Guy, It's a Gift out on Prime Video, along with Chris Higgins, Live at the Four, and Gianmarco Ceresi, Thief of Joy, both out on YouTube, which is also where you can find James McCann, Black Israelite. But all right, well, we are joined by the #1 best-selling poet, James McCann. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, who just released 23 new minutes of stand-up comedy. Let's start there. You've released like 20-minute chunks before. What's like your overall strategy when it comes to burning material online?
You know, you gotta leave them wanting less. That's what I say. I think the comfortable amount of my material for people to watch is about 6 minutes, but I force them to get through that extra 15. And I don't know. I mean, you got to tour some. You got to hit that road. So I'm afraid of burning an hour. Mm-hmm. But then also, who's watching a full? Some of my favorite hours I've had to watch in 3 chunks.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, like, it's very rare to get through it. That I find I get through a special in one go, and if I'm not a niche comedy audience, I don't know who is. You know what I mean?
And not technically stand-up specials, but there is new stand-up comedy out right now from Josh Johnson, as always. And actually, a quick congratulations goes out to Josh, who last week officially surpassed 50 hours of published stand-up comedy on YouTube, which is insane. We also have a new episode of La Mascots on the Out of Order channel, and on October 4th, Cam Patterson will make his SNL debut at 11:30 p.m. Eastern. And last but not least, we are very behind on the free stickers, but I promise that everyone who has filled out the form in our Instagram bio will receive some of these in the mail eventually. I really apologize for the delay, and also given everything that we've talked about today censorship-wise, if you'd like to support independent comedy journalism and help us expand this operation, there's tons of exclusive interview content and weekly top 10 videos available at patreon.com/jokeworld. But either way, thank you for watching the free stuff, and we'll see you next week with some more comedy news.
At Joke World. That's it, at Joke World.
And the world is WRLD.
That's a great YouTube channel, Joke World. Check it out.